就是我们一些国际的买家，包括在中国，我们评估完的一些森林状况和关于森林认证和产业链的一个推进的计划，和一些我们看到存在的一些问题。就是 BV 一直是跟世界。
BV is always collaborating with international buyers to emphasize the importance of the all segments. BV became the top 4 certification firm. Our total revenue last year more than 30 billion RMB yuan, and we have employees more than 60,000 globally. We have 8 major sectors: shipping, industry facilities, quarantine, and consumer goods, and certification and government issues. For all these 8 pillar sectors, we are all ranking top 5. With regard to timber field, we not only provide forest certification services in many countries, but also in the whole supply chain. We are assisting our furniture manufacturers and suppliers to improve their whole chain situation. For the exports exported to the products exported to Japan and EU markets, the testings are being done in BV to make sure the conformance. We have more than 80,000 collaborators worldwide, more than 10,000 certificates being issued, and large top 500 companies like Walmart and other top-level wood supplier had very strong and close collaboration with BV. Because of our special contribution in the timber sustainability development, we had established 3 research centers. For the AP region, the headquarters is in Shanghai. In EU, the headquarters is in France, and another is in Africa. Currently, in China, we have more than 30 examiners engaged in FSC certification, and also including several forest farm FM examiners. FSC certificates, we issued more than 1,000 in China, including PEFC, FM, more than 20 FM certificates. We are first batch first batch certification form, because in China, a lot of suppliers cannot find suppliers. A lot of times there are huge demands on the timber resources. However, it's very difficult to find the timber sources like timber forests. As a result, we have to introduce in China, import a lot of certified timber from overseas markets. 35% of certified certificates are in the pulp, timber, and paper sectors. Some other sectors are still lagging behind. This is FM certified regions all over China, from north Heilongjiang to south provinces, and also Xinjiang Autonomous Region. Many forest farms already passed and being awarded our certificates. Now we are shifting to the coastal areas to introduce those sustainability concepts to the hinterland, inland, and coastal lands forest farms. Some certification statistics. Next, I want to talk about, according to ECO's requirement, we carried out some assessment on the forest resources. Even those certified forest patches in China have certain kind of problems. Forest certification is composed of different elements. We assessed 7 counties in Fujian. We access in 3 aspects. The first is a document review. When we review forest farm, we needed to first see if they have systematic documents or plans available to make sure the sustainable development can be realized in that in that forest farm. Secondly, we made a lot of consultations among different stakeholders, because stakeholders for forest farm not only involve owners, operators, but also including the indigenous people, local residents, local officials, minority groups, their traditions, whether being observed and respected. A lot of stations like quarantine stations and so on and so forth, all are our stakeholders. And the third element is on the spot or field check about the land tenure, forest tenure situation in China. So the majority of the counties are located in this province, Fujian, including Sanming region, Putian region, Zhangzhou region. Illegal logging is a strong headache and challenge faced by all countries around the world. In China, when we evaluate the logging, we follow the dual control method, stocking volume and also the growth rate. Like we will verify whether they have the quota, the logging permit, and also the growth situation. Sometimes we realize there are over-cutting situation, which means cutting exceeding the given quota area. Secondly, some of the contractors, the safety measures like helmets and protection measures not in place. Many forest regions in China, a lot of loggers, they don't have advanced protective measures. They're only wearing like a grass cap, a hat. There's no professional like gloves and trousers being used, pants being used. And for the logging permit, China has very stringent requirements, so this aspect is quite good. With regard to transportation, we verify mainly whether they identify the logged timbers during the transportation, whether they have the quarantine certificate, and to guarantee the traceability of the timbers, and whether the documents are all complete. And the next focus is on the processing element, including whether they have the processing permit. For the smaller buyers, sometimes their purchase is not being equipped with full formalities or full documents. And Putian is rare and valuable tree species importer, huge. So for this concentrated importer area, we would check mainly whether the documents, importation documents are complete. And for those exporters, we also check the similar documents, formalities. Last segment, whether the payment of various taxes and levies and fees are being followed. Those are some of the documents we checked, including the permit, quarantine, and also timber transportation certificate. We use these templates to supervise, to check the forest farms situations. We notice some of the practices in China are not being carried out following the requirements of forest certification. For example, in Xianyou, this county, we noticed that some forest plots would just keep very few trees on the top of the mountain. So from afar, you would say, oh, that forest being kept, but actually all the below parts being clear cut. And sometimes clear-cut measures being used without prior assessment on the soil and water conditions, and also assessment on the soil erosion risks. And also we see the prescribed burning situation. Like after cutting being done, burning is very detrimental to the biodiversity conservation. So in the future, this is an effort we should make. So we can't go to the two extremes to clear cut or to not cut at all. Instead, we should to have sustainable cutting. This part, some field observation on the forest farms in China. We also pay special attention to the forest tenure, forest ownership. Because of the forest tenure reform in China, in some localities in Fujian, some of the ownership and the tenure of forests are not so clear. Because 20 years ago, forests were not so value, not being fully reflected, so there were very few disputes among forest tenure, different forest owners. But nowadays, since forests become more and more valuable assets, there are more disputes. Sometimes also there are some conflicts between village committee and the individual households.
Number 3, the forest right survey, because the information is very outdated, so the real situation about the forest right is still unclear. The third part of the survey is the possibility of illegal logging for the high-valued forest. Some of the forestry, like along the river, are very valuable, but we noticed illegal logging of this high-valued forestry, and the forest and the trees on the slope higher than 36 degrees, we have noticed some illegal logging as well. For our forest people, the definition about natural forest or the protection forest, we need to have a better awareness of its importance. Here you see the uh, the landslide happening because of the illegal logging. Number 5 is the transition from natural forest into the artificial forests. FSC has a different definition about natural and artificial forestry. Some forestry land is reclaimed for road construction, for commercial development, or for mining, for schools, and they occupies a lot of forestry land as well. You can notice the mines, temples, especially temples and road. The government has not done a very good protection over the land, the forest land. About transition between natural to artificial forestry, we see it's over than 0.5 percent points, 5%. That means the damage is serious by international level. FSC's definition is the standard of the similar species. In Fujian, for example, if there is no exotic species, then we is still a natural source. But in China, if 1 or 2 generations we chop down and replant, in China we call it artificial forestry. So there's some definition difference. Another thing is the genetic modified the damage on the forestry. For example, the eucalyptus, it has a huge damage on the local forestry. But there are some special issues. If it's not allowed, then if you play eucalyptus, it still can be taken as the forest. But if there are still some indigenous species, you chop them down and you plant eucalyptus. Now I will talk about who are promoting the certification of the forestry. Actually, there are some international buyers based on the principle of economic sustainability. They promote this certification like B&G and IKEA. IKEA demands that all the stores and suppliers have to have their products certified. Actually, most of the woods, the certified woods are 10% higher than the uncertified wood in terms of the cost. But what we need to a better protection of the forestry and a fairer competition market. Besides certification, wood, and there are some other like papers and the prints like the inauguration of President Obama's paper and the printing paper for Harry Potter. All of them are certified as package papers, packaged cartons. All the paper products come from the well-managed forestry. They have been promoting it. They demand their suppliers to have the self-evaluation to pass the FM certification. The paper supplier demands the pulp to have the certificate. The pulp will shift the pressure to the paper makers. The paper maker will shift the pressure to the forestry. So for the entire chain, value chain, the supply chain is traceable, and the entire value chain will fall into will go back directly to the well-managed forestry. A lot of luxuries and and the packaging, bags, all of them need to have the certification for the materials, including IKEA, B&Q. The wood from the B&Q supermarket has been certified. More and more FSC certification wood are used in London Olympics, the construction of the venues for Olympic Games, and Italian railway station. Their tickets are also made of the paper certified. In China, we have pushed a lot of forestry plants into the certification, like Jilin Dunhua Forestry Bureau as one of the first certified batches. Pine trees, all of them are certified. There is a big Constellation, a large paper maker. It has invested a lot of forestry plants in China. We have been doing FM improvement for them. And Chilianhua of Guizhou, it has also a lot of forestry plants. The pulp factory has also been certified. The Fujian's Lanping Forestry Farm and Yuanli Forest Farm, all of them has been certified. In all, we have been committed to forestry certification. We hope the comprehensive benefits of the forests can be supported by international buyers. Really, the certified forestry is managed according to international standard. The protection of the vegetable, the plants, animals, the protection of the local inhabitants, the protection of the water source. All these elements are better protected than in the forestry without certification. And sometimes the price is 10 to 50 or even 50 per price. Start in Guangzhou, forestry farm in Guangzhou. There's some forestry farm in Cameroon, in States. BV has been working, in Europe there is a EOTR law demanding all the wood for going to States need to prove its legality. In States there is a state law from California. In China is a big country, big export importer of wood, so we hope more species are protected and the local woods can be more valuable, so we can make more contribution to the protection of forestry. Thank you very much.